Hello everyone. My name is Alex Martinez. I am ProsDev's founder, and today we are going to learn how to deploy your Mule application using GitHub Actions to CloudHub 2.0. So let's get started. First of all, you will need an Anypoint Platform account. Of course, you can create a free trial account if you go to anypoint.mulesoft.com and just sign up for a 30-day trial account. You can keep creating free trial accounts as many times as you want. Just make sure that you change your username. You can even use the same email. And the second thing you are going to need is already a Mule application that is on your GitHub repo. In my case, I am just creating a test. So here in Alexander Martinez/test, I have here my private repo. It can be private or public, whichever one you prefer. But make sure that you already have a base project created. If you are not sure how to do this, please take a look at other videos that I have on that. And once you have those two things, then we can get started. Alright, so the first thing that we are going to do is to create a connected app in Anypoint Platform. So if you go here to Access Management, then select the connected apps from here and click on Create App. You can put any name that you want. In my case, this is going to be GitHub Actions. Then select App Acts on its own behalf. So you can create scopes and you can use client credentials. So then click on Add Scopes and you will add the following scopes. The first one is going to come from Exchange and you're going to select the Exchange Contributor one. Then if you go to General, which is right underneath, and you scroll down, you will select View Environment and View Organization. Then if you scroll down, select Runtime Manager and select Create Applications and Delete Applications. Then from there also, you're going to select Manage Application Data and Manage Runtime Fabrics. You scroll down a little bit more, you can select Manage Settings and Read Applications. Those are the minimum scopes. If you have any questions about this, I have put the link in the description of the video or also in the article in prosdev.com. So once you have those 9 scopes, select Next. Select your business group. In my case, it's SF. Next. Select your environment. I am going to be deploying to Sandbox, so that's the one that I'm going to select. And finally, you can just review that all the scopes are correct and click on Add Scopes. So once you have all that, you can click on Save and you will have created your first connected app. So now you're gonna click here to copy the ID, so the client ID, and click here to copy the client secret. You are going to be needing these two for your GitHub Actions. Now you can add your GitHub Actions directly here in Settings, and then if you scroll down, you will see Secrets and Variables Actions. And here you will be able to add your repository secret. So the first one that we are going to add is the connected app client ID. So this is the client ID or the ID that you copied from Anypoint Platform. So let's paste that right there and click on Add Secret. Now you can continue this to do the same, but for connected app client secret, or if you go to your VS Code and if you open your GitHub Actions extension, this is one of the ones that I really like to do because of the secrets. So if you click here on Secrets, Repository Secrets, you will see that we already have the connected app client ID. And if you click on plus, you will be able to add the new secret and then add the actual secret value. In my case, it looks like this. So you can press enter and you will have both secrets right here. You can also double check that it was created on GitHub. You just refresh the page and you will see both of them. Alright, once you have those, we can get started on the changes to your Mule application. As you can see, I have a very basic application. It's just an HTTP listener that is setting up a payload and then is outputting the logger. And that's pretty much it. So I can close this. The first thing that we are going to modify is the pom.xml. So you can open that up and we'll modify this. The first thing we need to do is to modify the group ID to match our organization ID. So if we go back here to Access Management, you can click on Business Groups, select your business group, and here you will be able to see your business group ID, which is your organization ID. So copy that and put it here in the group ID. Make sure that this matches your organization ID. The next thing we're going to modify is the version. So if you have here the dash snapshot, make sure to remove that so it only says 100 or whichever version you may have, but just remove the snapshot. Next, if you take a look here at the properties, we have the Mule Maven plugin version. In my case, it's 335. So I want to use 411 actually. The minimum version that you should use is 410. The next thing we're going to modify is the configuration for the Mule Maven plugin. So go ahead and go to the article in the description of the video so you can copy and paste the thing that I'm going to put here. So I already copied it, and then if I paste it, I will be able to see this. So we have the artifact ID, which is Mule Maven plugin, the same as we had before. This is going to be using the property that we had at the top, which is 411 in my case. If there is a most recent version, I would advise you to use that. Just make sure that it works. And then the configuration, we have the classifier Mule application. The URI is anypoint.mulesoft.com. Provider always has to be MC if you are using CloudHub 2.0. Environment, in my case, is going to be sandbox. You can change this to match whatever environment you're using, sorry. The target in this case is going to be CloudHub US East 2 because that is the one that I have in my free trial account. So how do I know that? If I go here to Runtime Manager and I click on Deploy Application, you will see here that if I select CloudHub 2.0, there is only one shared space that I have available, which is US East, Ohio. So then how would I know that is US East 1 or US East 2? If you go to the link in the description of the video or in the article, you will find this link to the regions and DNS records for CloudHub 2.0. So for example, in my case, I had US East, Ohio, which is right here. And if I take a look at the target ID, I can see that CloudHub US East 2. But I don't need the target ID, I need the target name. So if you take a look at this, you will see that there are some capital letters that are different. So you really have to pay attention to that. In my case, this is my target name. So it's CloudHub US East 2 with capital C, US, and E. Right after that, I have the server, which is, in my case, repository. You can put any name that you want here, any name at all. Just make sure that it matches some other configurations that I'm going to show you in a moment. This server is going to be able to do the actual authentication to Anypoint Platform for us. In the previous videos that you've seen from this series, we have done username and password, Anypoint Platform username and password, and we have also done connector applications directly here. So instead of having server here, we used to have the client IDs, right? Client ID and client secret directly here in the POM. In this case, we are going to be using the server, so we don't have to add the credentials directly to the POM. We're going to add them in the settings.xml, so in the Maven settings. Next, we have the application name. In my case, I am just going to be extracting the artifact ID from this project. So if I scroll up, it's project and then artifact ID. So this is the application name that I will be using. Then we have the release channel. In my case, I'm selecting none because I want this to be deployed to Mule runtime 440. If you want this to be on 460 or up, then you can select here, instead of none, you can put LTS or Edge, whichever one you prefer. Finally, I have just one replica with 0.1 vCores, and this is going to generate the default public URL for me. That is all the settings that I have. If you have any questions, please go to the docs of MuleSoft so you can see all of the different options that you can set up here. Now let's scroll down a little bit more until you reach here the repository. This has to be the version 3 of Exchange, so make sure you change this to version 3 and version 3, and that is all that you have to do. If you already have Anypoint Exchange version 3 here, then you can just leave it like that. Now in this same space, inside repositories, let's add a new repository. So again, go to the description of the video for the article, and you will be able to see this. So this ID is repository. This is the same ID that we had at the top in the configurations. Make sure they match whatever ID you want to put. Make sure that it's the same one. And then the name is private exchange repository, and this is the URL. So this URL is extracting your group ID from the top. So if I go and scroll up, we have the project and then we have the group ID right here. So this matches your organization ID. You can also just copy and paste it and put it here instead of that, but I thought it was just easier to reference to it. And finally, keep scrolling down. You will pass the plugin repositories, the dependencies. Maybe you have more dependencies here depending on your project. And then just after that, still inside project, make sure to add the distribution management with a repository with the same ID as before, in this case repository, and then the URL again will have your organization ID. In my case, I'm again just referencing to the group ID that I have at the top. All right, that is all for this file. Make sure you save this so you have all of the latest changes. And then let's create the settings.xml. What we have done in the previous videos or articles is that in the root folder, we create a new folder called .maven. And inside that, we create a new file called settings.xml. And this is the one that we are going to be referencing to from our GitHub Actions. So once again, copy and paste the file that we have in the article and you will end up with something like this. We have the server ID, which matches the server IDs that we've had 3 times referenced to in the pom.xml. And then the username has to be exactly this, which is the client. So MuleSoft knows that you are using client ID and client secret from a connected app. And finally, the password is going to be this. So if you want to actually paste your credentials here, it would look something like this. But I really encourage you not to put your credentials in the repo because then anyone is going to have access to them. So in our case, we're just setting up the property reference of client ID and client secret, and then we are going to be passing this down from our GitHub Actions. All right, so that is all for this. Make sure you save this. If you have MUnits or something else, just make sure that you have your Nexus credentials here as well with a different repository ID and so on. In this case, because it's just a basic case, you can just set this up like this. Now after that, let's go ahead and create the actual GitHub Actions workflow. So what we have done in the past, or actually you have to do this, you have to create a new folder called .github. And then inside that, create a new folder called workflows. And then inside it, let's create a new file that is called build.yml. And here again, we're gonna copy and paste what we have in the article. And this is what we pasted. So this workflow is named publish to exchange and deploy to CloudHub 2.0. This is gonna run every time that there's a push on the main branch. And there is only just one job. If you've seen some of the previous videos or articles, I normally have 2 or 3 jobs. But in this case, I thought I'd keep it simple. It's just one job that is gonna build. So check out this repo, cache dependencies, set up JDK. These are the same steps that we have in the past. And these 2 are the new steps. So the first one is to publish everything to Exchange. And the second one is to actually deploy the Mule application to CloudHub 2.0. And you will notice that there is something different between these 2. Everything is exactly the same except for this flag right here that says Mule deploy. This means that this is actually going to deploy and not just to publish to Exchange. So those are the 2 different things. As you can see here, in this case, I am just skipping the MUnit test because I have nothing about that, and I also have to set up my Nexus credentials, which I am not doing right now. And as you can see from here, we are setting up the client ID and client secret that will be read from this settings.xml file. And these are coming from the secrets that we set up earlier from the connected app client ID and client secret. We can also check them out again if we use the GitHub Actions extension, so we can just make this bigger. And as you can see, this matches. These are the repository secrets. We can refresh. We have the connected app client ID and the connected app client secret. You cannot see these anymore if you can only modify them. So this is very secure. All right, so that's pretty much it. You can save this file, and now you have all of the different changes. So let's just review all of the changes that we did. In the pom.xml, we have a new group ID that matches the organization ID from your Anypoint Platform account. We modified the version to not have the snapshot. We modified the Mule Maven plugin to be 411 at least. We added more configuration to have the CloudHub 2 deployment with all of the necessary information like environment, the server, the target, and so on. After that, we changed the Anypoint Exchange to version 3. We added the new repository with the same ID that matches the server, and the distribution management with the same ID. Then in the build.yml, we created the whole workflow from scratch. And in the settings.xml, we added the server to connect the client ID and client secret to whatever we need to authenticate to Anypoint Platform. That was a lot of twos. All right, so let's go ahead and add all of these changes, commit them, testing my first workflow. Right. So let's commit this and sync changes. This is gonna push my branch to the main branch. If we go back to the GitHub repo and we click here on Actions, you will be able to see that this workflow is already running. You can click on Build and you will be able to see what's happening. The first thing is that it's trying to publish everything to Exchange. And after a while, you will be able to see publication status completed. So that means that this was deployed to Exchange correctly. And now if we scroll down, we will be able to see the deploy to CloudHub 2.0. So this will start actually deploying everything to Runtime Manager. And if we scroll down, we will be able to see here that deploying artifacts, starting deployment, deploying and checking if the application has started. So if we go here to Runtime Manager, we are able to see the application is being deployed correctly. If you open it, you will be able to see here the target name, which is CloudHub US East 2, the version, which is 100, the application file, and the runtime version, which is 440. This is the release channel, so you can also change this to Edge or LTS or long-term support. Another thing that I want to mention is that if you have a change that you want to send to the application, you always have to change the version in the pom.xml. Otherwise, it's gonna tell you that the version is already published in Exchange and it won't be able to deploy it. So you have to continue. If you're doing just like minor adjustments, you can do 101, 102, 103, and so on. Or you can also change the version as 110, 120, and so on. Or you can also change it as 200, 300, and so on, depending on the changes that you are doing for each new version. And that is all. Congratulations! You have deployed your Mule application to CloudHub 2.0 correctly using GitHub Actions. So that is all for this video. Let me know if you want me to do anything else. Remember that if you want to change something in MUnit, if you want to do secure properties or something similar, you can just go ahead and watch the previous videos. Let me know if you're having issues with the CloudHub 2 deployment. I will be happy to create more articles and videos for you all if I'm missing something that I didn't explain before. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to all of my channels and everything. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!